But our top story this morning, Willie, the very latest on the attack on Paul Pelosi and what we're learning about the attack.
Yeah, it gets more disturbing the more we learn. New details about that brutal attack on 82-year-old Paul Pelosi, the husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Prosecutors released a detention memo with new information about Friday's break-in and assault at Pelosi's San Francisco home. According to the document, the suspect, David DePape, told police officers he was on a, quote, suicide mission and had additional targets. Without questioning, DePape told officers at the scene, quote, I'm sick of the insane level of lies coming out of Washington, D.C. I came here to have a little chat with his wife, talking, of course, about the speaker. The document reveals at one point before police arrived, Paul Pelosi asked whether he could call anyone for DePape. According to the memo, DePape, quote, ominously responded that it was the end of the road for Mr. Pelosi. Prosecutors alleged DePape also had other targets in mind, including a Bay Area professor and some prominent state and federal politicians. None of them were named in this filing. DePape was arraigned in court yesterday afternoon and pleaded not guilty to several state felony charges. He will remain behind bars until a bail hearing on Friday. We also learned, Joe, yesterday that Mr. Pelosi, after he was hit over the head with a hammer, fracturing his skull, lay unconscious in a pool of his own blood for several minutes before medical help could get to him and get him back to where he needed to be to get to the hospital.
Right. And you guys played clips yesterday. Republican candidates, some who are being called the future leaders of the Republican Party, making jokes about an 82-year-old grandfather getting his brains bashed in, passing out. You know, he's probably fighting for his life. Yeah. You know, they say he's doing well. You know, you're hearing doing well, recovering, family by his side. Chances are good if you're 82 years old and you get your skull fractured and you're brutally assaulted.
A lot of pain.
You're fighting for your life, and it's going to have a horrible impact on him for the rest of his life. And yet you have the rising star of the Republican Party lying about what happened, saying that there was a gay prostitute that he was meeting that night, and they kept stirring it up. I don't have to say again, the leader of Twitter and the richest guy in the world spreading that lie, and Republicans, one after another Republican, dismissing this. And you know, Mika, you did a monologue on this a couple days ago, so powerful, and a lot of people talking to me about it out in California, and I'm like, what are you doing up that early? But they were talking about it, and it seems that as the days go by, your words become even more true, because we didn't know everything then. This was just such a savage attack, and the conspiracy theories were so bizarre. Now Republicans are resorting to, I mean, why can't they just do what Nancy Pelosi said after Steve Scalise got shot? Right? Why can't they do that? What's wrong with them? And this isn't about politics. This is about who raised you.
Yeah.
Who raised you? Are your parents really proud that you mock 82-year-olds getting their brains bashed in? Or something? You just can't say this is a tragedy. This is bad for America. We're praying for. Why can't you say that, Republicans? Mitch McConnell said it, but few others have. What's wrong with your soul? I've been in Congress. I can guarantee you it's not worth selling your soul for. In fact, it's not worth selling your baseball cards for. It's not worth it. But now you have J.D. Vance. Now they've gone to phase two. Okay, we've been caught lying.
Right.
Our conspiracy theories were flat out lies. Now you have J.D. Vance going, yeah, it's bad, but the real problem here, this is the Democrats' fault because an illegal alien was in America, and he committed that crime, and that's the problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, J.D. Vance wants you to know that we've talked about public safety. We have now learned, according to J.D. Vance last night, that the problem in America with this crime surge, the reason San Francisco and Oregon hang by a thread, about to fall into a cesspool of anarchy. Get this, Little Butters said this last night, is because Canadian workers overstayed their work visa. That's it. Here's the bite. Terrence and Phillip from South Park, they're the cause here. They overstayed their work visa, and that's why locusts are descending from the heavens, eating our flesh. Here's Little Butters.
What happened to Paul Pelosi was disgusting. And I think everybody, whether we're Democrats or Republicans or somewhere in the middle, are very glad that it looks like he's about to make a full recovery. Hopefully he's doing well. Certainly our thoughts and prayers are with Paul Pelosi. But I've condemned the violence against Paul Pelosi from the very beginning. I think it's preposterous. I think it's disgusting. And I think it's something that all of us should condemn. What I've also said is that I think the effort to turn this into a political issue actually is a real problem here, because Paul Pelosi was attacked. Look, Paul Pelosi was attacked by a person who's an illegal alien in our country, should have never been here in the first place. My view, very simply, is that we need to deport violent illegal aliens, okay? And when an illegal alien attacks Paul Pelosi, it's tragic and it's terrible, but it's not reflective of Republicans. It's reflective of the fact that we let way too many violent people live freely in our country.
How did you know the butt was coming there? You could see the wind up from the Paul Pelosi.
Let's not make this political.
Was bad. First of all, let's not make it political.
Are
the
you kidding
guy
me?
had a MAGA. Basically a MAGA statement that was out there.
Twist ties.
He said he was coming to kill her for political purposes. He was going to try her. He was going to bust her kneecap. He was going to send messages to election deniers. He said he was going to shoot people in the media that didn't follow the lie about the stolen election. It is one of the most political attacks we can imagine. So that's the thing again that he gets wrong. But you talked about this a couple of days ago. It's only gotten worse for these Republicans that again can't just come out and say this is really bad. We have a problem with violence on our side. We have a problem with fascism, growing sort of fascism on our side that started with Donald Trump. They can't just say it. Instead, they're saying, "Oh, don't say the word fascism. Don't say that word. Let's talk about something else." What would you like to talk about? The Phillies? No, we have violence that's being stirred up by Donald Trump and his acolytes.
Well, and I'm curious because I know that this probably wouldn't have happened 5, 10, 15 years ago. When you were in Congress even, the person who could stem this violence, who could stop this violent rhetoric, who could stop future violence are Republican leaders, are people like Kevin McCarthy, who hysterically called Donald Trump when he knew Donald Trump was the one who could stop the violence on January 6th. Who are the people who could stop the violence that is happening now?
Donald Trump could.
And Republican leaders.
No, not really.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
I'm telling you.
They absolutely could.
No,
they
couldn't.
could. Mitch McConnell standing alone in a silo is not helpful.
Well, that's...
But all Republicans in Congress, all Republican leaders being compelled to come together in unity and prayer and say stop and committing to stop spreading conspiracy theories and lies, yes, it would help.
I think the sickness is so deep within the base of the party, that the MAGA base that follows Donald Trump, the extreme MAGA base. I think the sickness is so deep among them that if somebody criticizes violence the way they should, I think they would be seen, Katty K, as sellouts. That's why on election, on January the 6th, when they were counting the electoral votes, what did all those Republican members say to Donald Trump? You got to call him off. You got to tell him to stop. You got to tell him to go home. Why were those Republican leaders screaming on the phone at Donald Trump, begging him to tell them to stop and go away? Because they knew that this fascism, let me say that word again if it makes you uncomfortable. Let me say it again. The fascism that started rising in 2015 when Donald Trump started praising violence, when he started telling people of color that were in Congress to go back to where you came from, when he started praising congressmen who beat up reporters for simply asking a question about health care reform, when he said there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville, when he had people like Steve Bannon talking about the violence that was going to be unleashed on January 6th, and Roger Stone and the people that he was talking about, when he tried to steal election, when the lawyer said you can't steal the election, so we're going to, Donald Trump goes off at 2 a.m., he writes a tweet and says you gotta come to Washington, D.C. on January the 6th, it's gonna be wild. And Donald Trump telling the Proud Boys, stand by. Stand by. And Donald Trump, while Mike Pence was running for his life, according to his own Secret Service people who were calling home, telling their families they probably weren't going to get home. They were going to be killed that day by Trump's angry mob. Mike Pence gets a tweet directing the crowd to be even more angry at him. While they're already shouting, hang Mike Pence. Katty K, it wasn't until Donald Trump told them to go home, told these, quote, patriots to go home, that they went home.